What's up, outsiders? In this video, I'm going to show you how I use Caltopo, a free mapping tool, to plan my backcountry hikes. I'm going to show you the basics of the interface, how to create and analyze a route, and print high-quality topographic maps. So let's go make some maps. So the first thing we're going to do is navigate to caltopo.com. Some people call it Caltopo, some people call it Caltopo. I guess it just depends if you call it a topographic map or a topographic map. Either way, you're presented with the main user interface. You can use Caltopo anonymously, however, you won't be able to save or share any of the maps. I suggest you log in. There's a bunch of different methods you can use from Google, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, Yahoo. I use Google, so I'm going to sign in with Google. I'm going to choose my account. And when you're successfully signed in, your name will appear here. If I click on my name, you can see any of your past saved maps, any bookmarks you've created, PDFs that you printed, and any layers that you've saved. The main map interface works much like Google Maps. If you click and drag, you can pan to different locations in the map. You can zoom into a location, or you can use the search up here to find a specific spot. Let's find New York State's tallest mountain peak, Mount Marcy. And the result, it usually shows up right in the middle of the screen. Now let's take a look at the different layers. This is really the power of Caltopo and what really differentiates it from other mapping software like Google Maps. This default map that we're seeing here is what's called the Map Builder Topo, and this is actually a custom map that the folks at Caltopo create based on several sources, including OpenStreetMaps. Then you can click other preset layers and it changes the look of the map. This is a USGS map. You can see it's quite a bit different looking. If there's a US Forest Service map available, that will come up, and those are actually very, very good maps. If it's not available, you'll just get the USGS map for that area. There's an aerial topo, a hybrid satellite, where you can see it's a satellite image with an overlay of contour lines. And finally, we have the slope angle shading, and this one is quite useful, and I'll show you a couple different options with this. But up here to your upper right, you can see there's the colors key, and it's a gradient of colors going from 27 degrees to 60 degrees plus, and that's your slope angle. So you can see, without having to look at the contour lines being closer together or farther apart, that there's quite a bit of a slope right here. It's in the red range, which is 35 to 45 degrees, which is a pretty good drop off. So let's go back to the Map Builder Topo. So what's cool about this is we can customize these layers. Go over to the right hand side. So we see that Map Builder Topo is selected. If we hover over it, it gives us a whole bunch of different options. We have different base layer maps that we can choose from, and then different overlays that we can choose from. So let's take a look at slope angle shading as a preset and take a look over here. Now you can see that there's a couple different things here. It says scan 7.5 feet plus 3. So we have a couple different layers here. So the first layer is the Forest Service layer. The next layer is normal. If we drop down, normal is actually under shaded relief. So that's giving us that 3D look to the map. And then they're doing slope angle shading. So this is all the features that are contained in this slope angle preset. Let's go back to the Map Builder Topo. There's no real features with this, so it's a good way to just reset yourself. And let's build our own custom map. So we're going to keep that Map Builder Topo. We're going to stack a new layer. So we're going to actually do a normal shaded relief, and we'll set this to 33%. So now you can see it gives you that kind of a 3D shaded look on the map below. And let's also put in those slope angles for shading. However, instead of using the fixed selection, let's do a gradient. And you can see it actually colors everything. So anything in green is 20 degrees, yellow is 28 degrees, and 40 is red, so we're starting to get very steep in these areas. So that's how we build a custom layer. You can pick and choose whatever you need. Let's reset that by clicking the Map Builder Topo over here. I want to show one other neat feature of the overlays. So we have our Map Builder Topo base map, but we are going to select sun exposure, and this could be kind of neat for photographers, so you can see what aspect you'll get on top of a mountain and where the sun will be at a given time. When you select sun exposure, it might take a couple minutes to render as it does its calculations, but once you do, you have a colorful map with the red colors showing the most sun exposure, yellow intermediate, and then blue is where you're going to not have much sun exposure. So we will click the Map Builder Topo to reset our map and our features. One other thing I want to point out while we're here is the config menu. Here you can customize how you want your labels for your objects to show up, if you want your UTM grid, or you can customize your coordinate system and the units here. Okay, so we're ready to plan a route. We are going to go from the Adirondack Lodge in the Adirondacks, which is a very popular trailhead, and plot a route to the summit of Wright Peak, and then we'll plot that route back. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is search for the Adirondack Lodge. And it is LOJ, that is spelled right. Here is Heart Lake. The lodge is situated next to Heart Lake. And this is our trailhead. And just to the south is Wright Peak, which is going to be our destination summit. So let's add objects to our map. There's two ways to add the objects. On the left-hand menu, there's an Add New Objects, and there's also at the top menu an Add Menu button. The reason there's two places to add objects is you can actually collapse and expand the left-hand bar by clicking on this checkered region. And we'll actually leave it expanded for now, but if you needed more real estate, you can certainly collapse that. Okay, so let's add a marker. We're going to place a marker at the summit of Wright. So we're going to go to Add New Object, a marker. Think of this as a point. We're going to, when you first start, you're given this dialog box at the bottom right. Let's call it Wright Peak. You can put any comments on here. Let's just say summit. And if you know the coordinates, you can place them here. Or what you can do is the dot will default to the middle of the screen. You can pick that dot up and place it wherever you want. And we'll put it at the summit of Wright Peak. We can also change the style. So let's say we want it to be the mountain icon. Notice it's red. We can also change the color. Let's make that orange for now. And I think that's pretty good for now. It looks good. Looks like it's in a good spot. So let's click OK. And you notice your marker will show up in your left-hand bar. Okay, so now let's add our route, which is a line. We can go to the top menu or the left menu. Let's add line. And you see it pops up this dialog box. We can do the same thing. We can call it route to Wright Peak. We can put any comments we want. Trailhead is 80K Lodge. We can change the line weight, which is the thickness. Let's make it a 4. We can change the color. Let's pick something like maybe purple. We can also change the style to dashes, dots, arrowheads. We're going to just keep it as a basic line. Another thing you can do is change the opacity of the line. We're going to just keep it solid for now. And there's two ways you can do a path. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually shut off the snap to and show you the hard way to do it, but sometimes you might not have the path, if you're at a location that OpenStreetMap doesn't have the trail and you need to add the trail, or perhaps you're bushwhacking. So I'm just going to show you real quickly on this path. You just keep clicking. Every time you click, it adds a vertice, and you can change direction. So let's say I was bushwhacking right up this valley to this peak. So that's one way you can actually do that. That's usually not the suggested way unless you don't have a trail to follow. So I'm going to actually cancel this, and I'm going to show you the easy way to do it. So we're going to add a line, and this time I'm going to change my snap to and change that to OSM, which is OpenStreetMaps. We'll name this route to right. We won't give any comments. We'll maybe change the color again, the purple, make it a 3 or a 4, okay. And we're going to leave that as is. Now when you see me highlighting, the trails that weren't highlighted before are now highlighted in yellow. And when I mouse over them, you can see my purple color is showing up on the trails. So the easiest way to create a route is by clicking at the trailhead where you want to start. And then what you can actually do is follow, let's go all the way to the summit of right, which is right there. And you can see if you click the beginning and the end of your path, and it has the OpenStreetMap snap to, it's going to snap right to that route, and it's pretty easy to create a route from that. Now, if there was a trail junction or something like that you wanted to follow that wasn't kind of the least path that they show here, you would have to click in between to come to that trail junction. We have the route established. We can do some cool things with it. The first thing is if we click either on the route or click the name of the route on the left-hand side, it zooms to the route and it also pulls up this dialog box. Here we can see how far it is in kilometers, how far it is in miles. And one other thing you can do is if you click on profile, it'll pull up this bar at the bottom that shows the elevation profile. And as you can see, let's close out of that menu. It's a live preview of your route, so you can see where the elevation is in relationship to the route above. Let's close out of our profile and take a look at another cool way to analyze your route. So if we click on the route, we're going to click on Terrain Statistics, and it brings up this new window. Again, you get the elevation profile, but it isn't a live mouse over. What you also get is the slope angle is this first bar, the land cover, and then the tree cover is the bottom bar. And you can see along your path what your slope angle is going to be in relationship to where you are in that elevation. So below is the summary of the route. You can see how much percentage the route is at each elevation, the different slope angles you're going to encounter. So you can see there's a few that are above 30 degrees and even approaching maybe 40 degrees. And what's really cool is you can see where on the map that corresponds to, because this top bar is the slope angle. So right here is going to be at just before 2.5 miles. We're going to have some pretty steep terrain for a little while. You can also see the tree cover. As expected, it's mostly forest land, and the 3% that's barren is probably the rocky peak and some of the more rocky areas. If you wanted to, you can print or save these as a PNG or a PDF. So some really good, valuable information on the route. And finally, there's a print map. This kind of uses default settings and does a pretty good job for a quick map, but I'm going to show you a better way in a minute to customize the map and make it a little bit more standard to what you would see buying a commercial map. So one thing you might have noticed in the terrain profile is it's a one-way map. So how do we extend that? It's pretty easy. and I'll show you how. Okay, so if we wanted to extend the route for right, let's pull up that menu, and there's an option here to extend. And pretty much what we want to do, let's just say we want to go a little different way back. So we're going to click at the summit, and then we're going to click an intermediate path here to take this route. And then we can do the same thing as click our trail head and just double click, and now we have the route back. If we pull up our terrain or our profile, you can now see it is more of a mountain with the return path, taking a slightly different route and returning back to our trailhead. And once we're happy with our route, what we want to do is save that route and save the map. So we're going to click Save this map. We're going to give it a name, Right Peak. And what's important is it's going to save everything on the map, the markers, the lines, anything you place on that map. And then we'll click Save. And now you can see that it gives you different options. You can manage this map if you wanted to change the name or give any comments to it. It also allows you to share the map. It gives you the URL of the map and a way to embed it into a web page. And if you want to load the map, you just click on your name and click on the map, and it will bring that map up with the markers and the routes that were saved. So we've created a route, and we've looked at the terrain statistics and the profile. We've gathered a lot of information about our path. So the next logical thing is let's print out our map. So we're going to come to the top menu and click Print, and print to PDF or JPEG. It's going to open up a new tab and a new interface. And we have a bunch of different options on our left-hand bar. So the first thing we want to do is give it a title. So we'll call it Right Peak. The next thing we want to look at is the map scale. A larger scale shows a smaller area with greater detail, and a small scale is just the opposite. It's a larger area with less detail. It seems counterintuitive at first, but it's because the scale is really a fraction. 1 over 10,000 is a larger number than 1 over 25,000. You always want to have the largest scale possible because you want the most detail. And sometimes this might require 2 pages. I'll show you how to do that. So my suggestion is to use one of the predetermined scales. We're going to try one with 1 to 24,000. And as you can see, it's in portrait form. I prefer landscape if possible. Sometimes the path won't dictate landscape and it fits better in portrait. I also prefer to have the UTM grid lines on there, and most maps that you buy will have a 1 kilometer box that makes up the UTM grid. And finally, we want to move this box so it has our full route on it. And when you're happy with that, you can click Generate, and it'll pop up a new page with a PDF of your map. And you can see it does a really nice job. We selected the Map Builder Topo map as our base map. It has your magnetic declination. We have our UTM grid lines, the scale, 1 to 24,000 is 1 inch of the map is 2,000 feet. It also gives us some information about the map, including our title. Let's just say we want to have a larger scale map, which means there's more details. So we're going to make it a 1 to 12,000 map. And you can see this square gets quite a bit smaller, and we're not able to fit our whole route on that map. But that's okay. We can come down here and we can say click Add Page. And by default, it'll be portrait. I'm going to actually switch that to landscape. And we can make a second page. And what I like to do is just overlap this ever so slightly so that one map bleeds into the next page. Let's say we didn't like the way the Map Builder Topo was. We can actually change that here. Let's go to the USGS map. And we're going to keep the same settings here. We want our UTM grid, the same title, and we want it to be a PDF. Let's generate this PDF. And Caltopo does a really nice job. It'll give you an overview page and show you what page 2 and 3 represent on the overview page. So you can see here's page 1, and page 1 of the map will display that portion of the route. Page 2 will be that portion. And you can have, many pages to your map. And now we see we have a lot greater detail. It's zoomed in quite a bit more. We now see that our scale is 1 inch to 1,000 feet, or a 1 to 12,000 map. And we have our 2 pages of our map. So that's the basics of Caltopo and how you can use it for a backcountry hiking trip. There's a lot of options, a lot of things to play with. I suggest that you just get into the tool, look at the different options, play with the different layers, find out what works for you. I personally like planning my routes using the map builder Topo, and depending on the location, if the U.S. Forest Service maps are available for that location, I'll use those as my printed map. And then also depending on the location, I may use the map builder Topo or a USGS map as my printed map. If I'm doing, a very long hike or a multi-day hike, I like to add extra pages. It's a great tool. It's free to use. Once you save the map, you can share it with your friends, put it on a web page. It's got some really nice features. Just start using it. I hope you liked this video. If you did, be sure to click that like button. If you want to see other how-tos or other adventure videos, be sure to subscribe to my channel. That's it for now. I'll see you guys outside.